So dude hit me in my DM, right? And I'm just like, all you niggas freak out, and that's just all it is. First off, girl, fuck him. And you are now listening to Linkin with Robbie. Okay, so boom. The verdict is in for U.S. versus Combs, the trial of the century. And y'all, shit, wild. If you ask me, shit is wild. Let me just start by, let me just go ahead and pull up the verdict. Give me a second. Let me pull that right on up. Okay, y'all, so the verdict reads, there was 5 charges. Whew. In the matter of U.S. versus Combs, count 1, not guilty. Sex trafficking of Cassandra Ventura, not guilty. Transportation for prostitution, guilty. Jane in sex trafficking, not guilty. And transportation for prostitution with Jane, guilty. Okay, so some of this, let me just break down here. Some of this I'm surprised about, then there's some of this I'm not surprised about. Like, some of this makes, I saw it coming because I spoke on this before. So many people were saying over and over again, where's the RICO? Where's the RICO? Where's the RICO? Everybody wanted to know where the RICO was. And even though I was able to see it plain as day, black and white, it was clear to me. And I know it was clear to a lot of other people. What I was getting was that the general public, the regular casual man and female, were unable to understand it. A lot of people just assume a RICO is a mafia or a mob type of situation. And it's the same thing with the trafficking. A lot of people feel like if you're not put in a cage and shackled and fed dog shit and forced to be assaulted sexually, then that doesn't count as sex trafficking. When there's other forms of it, coercion, physical abuse, which Cassandra did deal with. Cassie did go through physical and domestic violent abuse. Some of these women testified that. And it's so crazy. But I knew there was going to be I think it was more of a lack of understanding versus like them genuinely feeling like he wasn't guilty. I think they genuinely was like, I really don't understand. And this is what I'm expecting, and I'm not getting that. So because I expected what I see on Law and Order, SVU, I don't think this is really what they're selling me. So the jury didn't believe the government. The defense strategy worked. The defense did a really good job at discrediting the witnesses, downplaying everything the prosecution was stating. They basically picked apart everything the prosecution laid forth and basically just ripped it to shreds. They didn't need to have any witnesses because they focused on the prosecution's witnesses and discredited most of them, so the jury didn't believe them. And once the jury wasn't believing the witnesses, that was the main focus point of this trial for some reason. They didn't believe the testimonies. They didn't believe in the guilty verdict. For certain things where you could not disprove, which is why I think they should have focused more on the facts. And I know they have actual proof. They should have focused on the financial records. They should have focused on the business aspect, because there's some things you can argue about the business. With KK and D-Rock, you can't tell me they're not involved in some way. And neither one of them was witnesses. I've been said, we didn't need Jane Doe. We didn't need her. She did not help at all in this case. I don't think she did. I think it went on. It derailed from right there. I believe once Mia got on the stand, it started kind of going teeter tottering, but it wasn't too bad. Jane though really set everything in play for the jury to be like, yeah, I'm not with this. That's when they started reacting differently. That's when the media started shifting a little bit. Everyone was able to see the shift, and the defense played on that so well. And they fed everything they needed to feed to the jury to get the jury to do a not guilty verdict for some of the more serious charges. But let's not do too much, because prosecution was able to still land 2 charges. One for, I already listed it before, but for the transportation for prostitution. So basically the prostitution charges, which everyone knew he was going to get because there was no way to disprove that or deny it. It was factual. He was hiring escorts, taking them across states and stuff like that. But because there was no tangible proof that he was forcing anybody to do anything, it discredited a lot of the other charges. And I do believe there is proof. I just believe they didn't have enough people they could really get up there that could really prove that and sell that. Everybody they pulled up there to the defense just ripped the shreds and basically made look like lying ass people. Like, no lie, had them looking really like discredible, like their opinion was not valid. Just basically just declassifying their whole presentation. So I can't even be mad at the prostitution. Oh my God. I can't even be mad at the prosecution because Diddy had an all-star defense team. He pulled out all the stops to get all the type of people that could pull all kind of tricks and theatrics, and they did. They was doing all kind of stuff the whole trial. And every time you get a witness up there, it'd be like, okay, we on our way. And then the defense would get up there and just knock them down a peg. And I was watching the reactions from the general public, and everybody kept saying, oh, them women wanted that, or this isn't a RICO. So a lot of this just basically, if I sound down and out, I'm kind of disappointed. Like, I knew this was a chance, but I was hoping against it. You know, I was hoping that the evidence would prevail. I was hoping that the prosecution would have a stronger case, because I do think there was areas they could have touched on more of. Those are the areas I was more interested in. I didn't care about what him and all these girls was doing. The Cassie stuff was the only thing that I thought was very riveting and actually sold a point. If they'd had more situations like that you couldn't really come back, because they couldn't come back as Cassie too much, they'd have been fine. But this wasn't as straight and direct or black and white like the R. Kelly situation. Like, Diddy wasn't pulling up to high schools, picking up girls. He was doing it in an illegal way by getting escorts, but because everybody was a willing participant, and then they had defense had evidence of people doing it without Diddy being present, and it's kind of hard to sell that to a jury. So I understand that. So it's like, I just wish they'd understood the RICO charge a little more, because there's some RICO going on here, and there's definitely trafficking, but it's just not as severe as, like I said, Law and Order, SVU. They're seeing it like something on TV that's going to be very theatrical, very dramatic, very intense, and oh my gosh, this person has me tied up, and oh my gosh, I'm being fucked with an iron rod. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that type of stuff. Everything's not that critical, and sometimes it is a little bit more gradual and low key, and that's how shit occurs and goes on for years and years and years. I do think the prosecution had a case. I do think Diddy ain't shit. I just think the prosecution needed to focus more on the facts, because I think that's where they would have needed to shine at. Because with the jury members they had, they were already on Diddy's side going into this. You was already with an uphill battle, because a lot of people were already saying, Okay, so where's the RICO? Before we even had this started, they was trying to see. I don't understand the RICO because a lot of people do this casually. A lot of people do these things and don't even realize it's illegal. So they're looking at it like this isn't worth him going to life for. And they needed to focus on why he needed to go to life, why he needed to get life. You know what I mean? They needed to really focus and hone in on that. And I think they could have like drove that thought, that point home. You know what I mean? But outside of that, the good news of the day is he had his bail hearing. And the cones of bad boy was all lit, all excited, you know. Tell me what you want from me. Take a look at what you see. They was all like that. They was feeling like that, you know. They was feeling themselves. Bad boys we running, you know. They was feeling it. They was feeling it all day. And then the bail hearing came around 5. And baby, that judge said, based on everything the defense been saying, based on the evidence from the prosecution, I don't see any reason why I should give this man bail or bond and allow this man to go free. Now, allow that nigga up till October 3rd. Let that nigga sit there until we decide what we gonna do with him. And that made me feel a little bit better because I was like, everybody needs to calm down. Because I was like, everybody was acting like he got a whole full not guilty verdict across the board. And it wasn't. So yes, it was not guilty for the serious charges. But those other charges are still charges. And they're still up to 20 years together. 10 years apiece. So he gonna do sometime. Y'all don't want him to. Y'all want him to walk free today. Sorry, that ain't happening. He gonna do some fucking time because you broke the law, nigga. And you was out here just ripping and running, doing all kind of wild stuff. And they wasn't able to get you for every little thing you was doing because I know you was doing half that shit. Not even half that shit. You was doing all that shit. I know for a fact you were doing it. It was clear as day. But there was just not enough evidence to show it. And maybe the evidence is there and the prosecution just didn't have a chance to get to it. I don't know. But. Save your victory laps. Okay? Everybody chill and wait until after October 3rd. Then feel yourself. Okay? Because we don't know what type of time he gonna get. We don't know if he gonna be getting a slap on the wrist and just get a year and time served. You know what I mean? We don't know. So I will wait. But I do know he finna sit his ass down for the next few months. He won't be doing no freak offs next. No freak offs. No baby oil. No Astro Glide. And speaking of baby oil, another content creator that I actually follow and look up to, oh my gosh, Armand Wiggins was out there because he's been covering the case. Why was he out there lathering himself up with baby oil? I know for one, every time I would look at his his recaps or coverage of the actual, court proceedings, I would go to him because he was one of the ones that was there. I would go to him. I would go to Tisa Tales. Those would be the two people I would go to the most. Of course, Inner City Press. Of course, Law and Crime Network. Stuff like that. I was checking in with them. Hell, even Nancy Grace every now and then. But none of them was out there showing their ass like that. Nigga, you out there lathering yourself up with baby oil? You look insane. Even as a Diddy supporter, that would be crazy. Why are you out there doing that? That looks crazy. Not only do you look like you're celebrating with the very thing that was used to I don't even want to say, like, are you taking their abuse and you're mocking it? That's what it comes off as. Like, yes, baby oil is a household item that everybody uses, and it's not criminally wrong to use baby oil. But in that manner, in that way, it gives cringy. It gives cringe for content, and I don't like it. I don't even like it. Very clickbaity, very clout chasey, very thirsty. And As much as hell, he got way more motion than I could ever have. But I was looking at it like that's corny. I'm cringing. Why is it you out there doing this of all people? Why you? Why couldn't it be one of them? Oh, I don't really have a lot to add to this. The verdicts went but we still got the sentencing. We still got that to look forward to. And hopefully with him denying bail, the judge, he's a little bit more stern and going, put some weight on that sentence. He ain't for let him just walk out of there with no 1 year. Hopefully. That's what I'm hoping and praying. But I do pray for the victims because I know some of them that, for those that testified, they really went all out with their testimonies. And I could understand them being afraid. That's why I wasn't shocked Cassie, had a lawyer present a letter, about her fear of safety. Yes, she was a star witness. And you got this powerful man roaming free. She don't need that in her life. Like, man, shit like that pissing me off. I don't even want to talk about it no more. It's bringing me down, and I'm all hyped up off of watching Ironheart. So I need to cleanse my thoughts. But yeah, the Diddy U.S. versus Combs trial is over. We're finally done. I don't have to cover it anymore. Ugh. It was stressful. It was draining. It was taking a lot out of me, but I no longer have to cover it. Next time I talk about it, I'll do it in the update or somewhere along the lines, as far as the sentencing, but that'll be way in October. So I ain't got to talk about this no more. I am drained. I am tired. Today drained me, and I'm over it. And that is Live with Robbie on the Linkinwitrobby podcast. And you were listening to the U.S. versus Combs trial coverage. I can't believe he got those charges. Not guilty.